As a pastor's kid, I was really good at playing the game.
I was there with my brother, pretty much became a single mom because of his grief.
That's a lot of life experience in your early 20s. Now what?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea what to do next. I presented an intention that wasn't sincere.
There were multiple times I'm like, I can't do this.
Because you had fallen in love.
Yeah.
We didn't know where our future was going.
How many times did the truck break down this past year?
Boy.
What was that like? Welcome to Changed Lives, a special limited series in which I explore the incredible stories of the people behind the scenes at Life Action, a ministry with the mission of reviving relationships through transformative events. Each of these individuals, my coworkers, have experienced God move in big and unexpected ways. The more I heard their stories, the more I thought, people need to hear this. In this series, you'll get a first-hand look at how God is working in and through the people of Life Action, the challenges they face, the faith that sustains them, and the lives being transformed along the way. Their stories are powerful. Today I'm talking with Michael and Jodie Pool, a couple whose story began and now continues on the road teams. You'll hear how God met each of them during their formative years and how He prepared them for the calling they now live out, humbly leading young adults on the road team. As you listen, consider how God might use you to invest in the next generation. Life Action is able to equip young leaders because of people like Michael and Jodie and friends like you who step out in faith to make ministry possible. Let's jump in. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
If you run into somebody in town and they ask you who you are, what you do, how might you answer that question?
I serve as the family revivalist on the blue team, the team director, and the team pastor. So a lot of hats.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So together we look after the spiritual well-being of the team. Not just spiritual, but emotional, physical. Jodie's calling in life has been to serve those who serve. And so our ministry together is really summed up by serving the team so that they can be effective and at the top of their game going into churches.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
How would you answer that?
I am the behind the scenes person. So I get us from here to there and hopefully healthy and happy.
That is a big, tall task.
Yeah.
Because when you say get us there, obviously you're referring to the two of you, but you're also referring to all those college-age students that are following behind. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a lot to get from here to there.
A lot of bathroom stops,
A lot of bathroom stops.
And meals.
lunches,
Yeah.
dinners, and
And maybe we'll get into some of the stops last year that you had along the side of the
Oh,
road.
yeah.
There were a couple.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
Unexpected ones.
Unexpected
Mhm.
ones. So, all right, let's go backwards. Jodie, I am going to start with you.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about where you're from. What was life like growing up?
Sure. So I grew up on the eastern shore of Virginia, tiny area. Yeah, it's in between the Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean, a very small peninsula, tiny town. I lived next to my best friend for 5 years of my life, and that relationship actually was really formative. That was 5 to 10 that we lived, like literally across a field from each other.
Did you
and
know each other because you were neighbors? Is that how you met?
at church? We met at
Okay,
church
gotcha.
on the way to the nursery. So
Nice.
yeah, we still talk to this day. She's actually a missionary in Indonesia, so I don't get to see her very often. But yeah, so grew up in a small town. We had run of the town. My mom just said, "Be back by dark," or if then,
The
and
good
so
old days.
yeah, and so we had a lot of fun. At 10, we moved outside of town, and then I spent a lot of time with the dog. So I was homeschooled for middle school,
Okay.
so I spent a lot of time outside.
Okay.
tell them
Yeah.
about your 8th grade year.
Oh, I did not have one. I spent it in the woods with the dog. I don't think I did any work 8th grade
What would
year.
you and the dog do in the woods?
Just play, walk around, read books.
Wood things.
Yeah.
So how many siblings?
I have an older brother and a younger sister.
Okay. And so were they in the woods with you or were they doing school things?
My sister's 5 years younger. My brother never was homeschooled. He was always at school, so she was probably just in the house.
Yeah.
So the homeschool aspect came into play because my grandparents were sick and my mom wanted to be able they lived in Florida. So
Okay.
my mom wanted to be able to go down as often as she needed.
Mhm.
So um but I could not wait to get to high school. I went to public high
Okay.
school.
You went
So
to public
mhm.
school. So you spent a few years traveling around in the woods, and then you emerge back into
Yep.
public high school.
Yeah.
How was
My
that?
best friend was in public school her whole time, and so I knew all of her friends, and we did birthday parties together and stuff like that. So I had a friend group going
Okay.
into public school, and I
Good.
was very much looking forward to it.
Good. And did
She
you enjoy that?
Yes, I
she was
did.
on the volleyball team.
Okay.
So
All right. So, what were the plans in high school? What did you think you were going to do after
Mhm.
that?
The expectation was to go to college.
Okay.
So, there was no other expectation. Just where are you going to college? So I went to college in Wilmington, North Carolina. I actually graduated with a math degree. Um, and then God did some big things in our family, hard things, and life took a really interesting turn after that. So in college, that's where my faith became my own and became really real. I got really involved with a Christian, the BSU at the time. I don't know what it's called now, Baptist Collegiate Ministry or something. I don't know. And that's where my community was, and I loved college, and it was not because I was studying. I didn't do poorly, but it was definitely not my best effort. But I really enjoyed college and my friends. I didn't so much so I didn't want to leave, and so after I graduated, I moved nearby and worked at a startup.com. When they were
In the
also at the rich.
2000s.
Yes, yeah.
once again,
I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
At my college graduation, we found out that my brother's wife had cancer. She was getting sick at that point. And so I lost my job because that .com it just went by
The
the
bubble
wayside.
burst?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, exactly. And at that point in time, my sister-in-law had to have daily radiation. They had a 1.5-year-old, and they asked me to move back to Virginia and help with that. So I moved back, and then the next couple of months, I took care of my niece while her mom got radiation. So we had Christmas together, and at that point in time, my parents weren't living in Virginia; they were living in North Carolina, and we thought Catherine was doing fine. So I moved back to North Carolina where my parents were. Got another job, um, and we found out that her cancer had not gotten better, it got worse, that she needed a bone marrow transplant. And so I quit my job and moved back to help take care of my niece. And so that was in March. My sister-in-law died in June. And so I was there with my brother and pretty much became a single mom because of his grief. And I mean, I think he was 27 when she passed away. And so, I mean, how do you handle that? And he is not a believer, and so he did not handle it well. And so the next year or so, I took care of my niece and just kind of wondering what God had for me. And so in the summer between my junior and senior year of college, I just really began to question whether I was supposed to be in missions. And so I went on a mission trip to South Africa, actually, and just, it was kind of like, is this what I'm supposed to do? Like, foreign missions. I knew that missions was the direction I wanted to go or that God was leading, but foreign missions never became the avenue that He wanted
Sure.
me to take. And so, after my sister-in-law died and I was sitting in that, trying to figure out what in the world God was gonna have me do, I just began to pray through that situation, and the North American Mission Board came to light. I grew up Southern Baptist, so That was the vein that I went in. And my parents, during all of this process, they moved back to Virginia, started helping take care of my niece, and my brother was getting on his feet and all of that. And so after a couple of, I think a year and a half or so, I felt the freedom to be able to move forward in my own life. And so I actually moved to Seattle.
Huh.
And so I was there for 2.5 years doing international college ministry.
Okay. So before you moved to Seattle, I want to pause for a moment and talk
Mhm.
about single mom as the aunt. What was that like for you?
My niece was young, so she was 1.5 when my sister-in-law died. So it was interesting. It was the phase of potty training, and like she didn't really know her mom well. And so just trying to make it day by day, actually. I didn't really know what I was doing.
It's a lot of brain fog.
Yeah.
It's a lot of a lot.
My brother was there at night, so the keeping me up and all of that, like, all of that stuff was not
Sure.
my thing or not what happened, but the day-to-day, the cooking and the laundry and the playing with her and spending time with her and stuff like that was what I did.
What a
So
blessing you were to her at that time.
it was hard,
Yeah.
but it was really good. She's 25 now.
I was going to ask
Yeah.
you. I bet you have a pretty special bond.
Yeah.
You had kind of hinted at that was the time where God like became real to you. Was it during that time?
My faith became my own in college, and during this time was a lot of questioning, actually, not necessarily like she was 27. And so to try and like wrap a reason around that is really difficult. And so looking back on it now with my history with God, I, I won't ever understand why she died, but I can see the good that has come from it. And so I also see a lot of hard and hurt that has come from that, but I have a foundation of faith now that I didn't necessarily have then to be able to be okay in the hard and the hurting. So it was really hard.
I can imagine.
So
Yeah. I just really can imagine. And I can imagine as much as you were probably wanting to be able to kind of live out your own life and move on, I bet it was hard to leave too.
it was, yeah. I was 22 at the time, 20, well, 21 when she passed away. And yeah, so I think I was 23 when I moved to Seattle. I think that's right. So
That's a lot of life experience and hardness in your early 20s.
yeah,
So you moved across the country.
literally across the country. Yes, I did. Yeah. So it wasn't that I was trying to flee or
Yeah.
get a whole different thing. I really did feel God calling me to that job in that area. So it was hard because as an international college student,
Yeah.
so I did a lot of like ESL stuff,
Yeah.
and I spent a lot of time. I was on a team of 11 of us that were all around Seattle doing in different community colleges and other colleges out there.
That's great. Okay, Michael, I'm going to ask you the same question. So talk about what was life like? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Texas. My dad was a pastor. And so several different small towns in Texas. And as a pastor's kid, I feel like you can go one of two directions. You either rebel or you learn how to play the game. And I was really good at playing the game. The game was everyone's expectations of me as a pastor's kid and me just knocking it out of the park.
All right.
All the old ladies just, pinching my cheek and me just
Loving
smiling
you.
along and knowing all the right answers in Sunday school. And I put so much of my identity into performing and achieving. And when I was 7 is when I heard the gospel and understood it, that I was a sinner who needed a savior. And it was explained to me that Jesus was coming in to be the boss of my life. As a 7-year-old, I had no context
Right.
for a boss.
Mm-hmm.
And so my relationship with him largely centered around me performing. So all of my prayers were, God, help me get good grades. Help me to do this and achieve and protect me. So he was my safety blanket
Mm-hmm.
and my ticket to achievement and acceptance.
Sure.
And that's not the kingdom of God at all.
You've learned a few things
I have.
since then.
I
Okay.
have.
Uh-huh.
And so growing up in that environment, I excelled.
Yeah.
I did well. Loved it. Went to college. And about the time I was in college, my brain chemistry started to shift and do some weird things.
Uh-huh.
And I got really depressed. And suddenly I didn't have all the answers. And I didn't have a community that knew me growing up. And I didn't have a home church.
Mm.
And I, I stopped going to church. I remember trying to have a quiet time in my dorm room, and I would open the scriptures and just stare at them for a second and then just slam the Bible shut. And I just couldn't do it.
Hmm.
And the only thing that got me through those moments was the verse in Psalms that says, "Be still and know that I am God." And so I would just quiet myself and remember that He was God and that He was with me. And that was the only thing that would make the anxiety and the depression calm down.
Yeah.
I got my first failing grade. I got my first B, I think, in college.
Are you a firstborn?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah. And so suddenly my identity was crumbling, and I got connected with a group that was a little more charismatic than what I had grown up with.
Okay. Can I ask you before
Sure.
we talk about them, is this something that you were able to share? I mean, your dad was a pastor.
Mhm.
Is this something you were able to share with your dad or share with your folks back home or like your support back home?
I was. Um, my biggest problem with the depression was the lack of motivation that I had. And so we would talk about dying to self, being alive in Christ. And I understood that intellectually, but I think something about coming from my dad, I may have had some barriers there because my dad was the guy that I lived to please,
Right.
and I was really good at it. And suddenly I wasn't doing things right. And I didn't feel condemnation from him or from my mom. They were very supportive. I just felt like they didn't understand what I was going through. And I just felt kind of alone in that. And I know they did their absolute best,
Yeah.
but I didn't understand it. They didn't understand it.
Right.
It was just a hard time.
And you had gotten so accustomed to having the right answers and knowing to
Right.
do the right thing. And so when that gets turned upside down, you probably didn't know where to turn or what to do or what to think.
Yep.
And
Well said.
that's when the depression sets
Yeah.
in. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And then, brains when you're in college, they're doing all sorts of fun things
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're growing up. So that must have been really heavy. So talk about the group then that you get connected with that maybe
Yeah.
helps.
So I found, well, this group, I guess the Lord put me with them.
Mhm.
And they were a group that worshiped the Lord in spirit and truth. And I'd grown up with a whole lot of truth, but not a lot of spirit. That was just the church culture
Yeah.
that I grew up in. And suddenly there was this group of people that loved God and walked with Him. And I saw that. And God used my interaction with them for Him to affirm who I was, that I was His son. And my value and significance had to come from that, not from my achieving.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so grateful for how He met me in the depths.
How did you get connected with him? Was it kind of a cry for help from you or just a God thing?
There was living in the dorms.
Yeah.
There was a guy in my hall
Mhm.
who just said, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" And we started talking. And he was part of this group and invited me to come hang out with them on like a Tuesday night Bible study. and they would fire up the worship music and just focus on Jesus. And it was those moments of just being alone with him that is what my soul desperately needed. Um, because I didn't feel like just having my quiet time meant anything,
Yeah.
but being with him uh, was what I needed.
And it's interesting how God often uses people, relationships to draw us back, right? And so that's why I asked that question, because he was probably just thinking, hey, I see a guy who maybe needs a community or maybe
Yeah.
needs to come hang out, and how much that meant to you probably, but how God uses just those simple little things, relationships, to bring
Yeah.
us back in.
On a college campus, you would think that everyone would have been reaching out, but he was the only one that extended that gospel invitation of community. And so
It's
praise
so
the Lord
important.
for that.
It's
Yeah.
so important. And I think often we get nervous to extend that gospel invitation when we hear stories like this, it could just kind of remind us, like, just invite, like,
Yeah.
just encourage other people to be a part of, just be a part of
Exactly.
it.
Because it was the Spirit of God
Yeah.
working through
Right.
him to reach me.
Right.
Just as Jodie has had many
Mhm.
people in her life that were there at the right moment
Mhm.
to be that encouragement or that voice of truth. And it's a privilege to receive that, but to also realize our responsibility to extend that.
Mhm.
And that's a lot of what we're doing today.
Yeah. That's why
Yeah.
I pulled that out too, because yeah, that's what you're extending. I mean, you've experienced that, but you guys do that week by week now, extending that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So in college, you get connected with them, and then what's the plan after college?
Well, there wasn't one.
Okay.
The plan was to
Were you going to the woods too, or?
the plan was to get really good grades, get a scholarship, and then go get a college degree. That was what my entire life had been preparing me for.
Yeah.
And suddenly I have a college degree.
Done.
Good job.
Now what?
So
Now
I
what?
have no idea. I have no idea what to do next.
Didn't think beyond that.
No. I had a biblical studies degree because I'd felt called into the ministry as a younger
Okay.
man. So I thought, well, I guess whatever God wants to do with me, getting a Bible degree sounds like a good idea.
Now, God,
So,
do the rest with me.
yeah. And so I wanted to stay in my community, but I felt like the Spirit of God was prompting me to go back home
Okay.
and to help my dad with some projects he was working on. And so, it's every parent and child's dream is to move back home after college.
Oh, yes, it's lovely.
It's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, my family was very supportive. They were just glad to have their firstborn baby boy back. So that's when, so Jodie had a wilderness season. It sounds like what you're describing. My wilderness season was after college.
Yeah.
I moved back home and I became a delivery driver for Domino's. I got involved with a guy at our church who was a carpet cleaner. And so there I am, deep cleaning the floors at our church. And my piano teacher from years ago comes up and says, "You went to college so you could wash floors?" I said, "I'm going to go to seminary so I can do windows too." She's like, "Oh." So,
Poor thing.
yeah.
Hmm.
But I got connected with helping in the middle school Sunday school. And so I just started hanging out with the kids and teaching. And did that for several years before God opened up the door for me to become a youth pastor
Okay.
at a local church down the road in Corsicana, Texas. And that was a huge step forward. Had my own place, responsible for myself, responsible to the church. And I just loved teaching. Everyone fits in somewhere. If you didn't fit in somewhere, you came to our youth group. And I loved watching that group grow and teaching them biblical truth, which was great until our church got sick. And we had hired a pastor to come in at the recommendation of a former pastor. No real vetting. He wasn't the best match. he offended people. The people ran him off. And we brought in a pastor to fix our church. And anytime you trust in man, you're going to be disappointed. And our church continued to shrink. I remember standing up at a business meeting saying, we need to seek God and really, seek what he has for us. And someone in the congregation said, why don't you go ahead and pray for us? And I was like, "Uh, that was the response to let's seek the Lord. And we died.
What was that like being on the inside of that?
It was frustrating. It was hard. Um, but at the same time, my dad had said he'd gotten connected with Life Action. He would go and pray at Life Action events. He's like, Michael, you would love these people. They're fantastic. Yeah, your heart, their heart, same spot. I was like, that's cool, Dad, but I'm a youth pastor.
Right.
I'm going to be there for a long time. And as our church died, the red team needed a youth guy. And I thought, I can just teach and not do logistics and planning? This sounds amazing. So as a 28-year-old, I put my mattress on the curb
No.
and
Sold your car?
sold my car and came to Michigan.
Wow.
And
so had you ever been to a Life Action event before? Or your dad okay.
I had. They came to our church when my dad was pastor.
Yeah, when your dad was pastor.
That was my introduction to them.
Okay. What team was it?
It was Ryan Loving's team.
Okay. And so what did you think of, do you remember like what you thought about this team coming in? Like enough to make you dump your mattress and go with them, but
that was years before.
Oh, okay.
God
Okay.
used that to
Gotcha.
work in my heart to get me to the next step of my journey. We didn't circle back around to Life Action for a long time. My first interaction was before that, when Dad was checking them out. And so we went together to Dallas it was Trent Griffith. God used that to dramatically rescue me from some stuff that I'd gotten involved in. So, yeah.
Interesting. And so then you're 28, the youth pastor thing looked like it was fizzling out.
Mhm.
Your dad said, maybe consider
Yeah.
Life Action. And so you say, okay.
Yeah.
And you come to Michigan.
Prayed through it, seemed good, and now I'm in Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so
Okay.
much fun.
The plan was for 1 year.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that because almost everybody says that. So we had to keep the theme going. The play, I'd give it 1 year. I'm going to
I'll give it 1 year. Yeah.
For sure. So now I'm going to go back to Jodie. So now I know how you got here. So Jodie, you're out in Seattle. You're also in your 20s. You're doing that. What happens next in life?
That job that I took was like a 2-year internship kind of thing. So I tried to stay out there too, just like I did in at college. Like, I love it here. I don't want to leave, but God was very evident. And so I actually moved from Seattle to Florida.
You just like to go
Mhm.
all the different corners.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at that point in time, I moved in with my cousin who lived down there and just trying to get on my feet, figuring out what was next. So I lived there for a couple years and not a fan of Florida. The
You
weather.
didn't want to stay there.
No.
Okay.
During this time period, my brother had remarried and then started the really bad divorce. And so it was, when I was in Florida that his marriage fell apart and I moved back to Virginia to help again. He is a general contractor and had he has his own business and he needed help there. So I moved. I was very happy to leave Florida at that point in time. And so I moved back to help with his business and with his daughter again. And so during that whole process, when he had married his second wife, she adopted my niece and then proceeded to take her away. So the judge gave her to her stepmom. And so we got her every other Wednesday or something. It's the whole, whatever the divorce proceedings are, every Wednesday and every other weekend or something like that. And so that whole experience was incredibly hard for our entire family. Just all of that, and that process just becoming really bitter and angry. And that's actually where Life Action found me. Is Michael showed up in my office. I worked for my brother, but I was also the administrative assistant at our church. And
Okay.
so a red team came to our church, and Michael showed up in my office, and that was my introduction to Life Action. Was it was an 8-day event. And so yeah, God found me really bitter and angry over the whole situation with my niece, and just at his ex-wife and all of that. And so just processing through that and working through that was just life-changing.
Yeah, during the event, you were able to process that because there's a lot of opportunities during the event for introspection and time seeking God. You say he showed up in your office.
Yeah.
So let's rewind.
Mhm.
What was that like? So what do you remember the first
So
time?
this
you
was the first year that he traveled.
Mhm.
So altogether he traveled 4 years, but it was kind of the end of his first year. And we live on the eastern shore of Virginia, and they were coming up from the south, and you have to go onto a bridge 22 miles long and 2 tunnels, and they did not measure the semi truck, and the semi truck could not fit in the tunnels, and so they had to take the semi truck all the way around through DC and drop down from the north, which added 4+ hours to
bet.
their trip.
So the team director was the truck driver.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, he asked me to be the acting team director
Okay.
when we landed. So I step on into the church office and introduce myself.
What do you remember about each other?
There was no light shining down on me.
There was no angelic
sparks.
choir.
No, nothing.
No, I
Okay.
remember your
a slow burn. It was more of a slow burn. Okay.
So if you go back to that horrible need that I had for approval and whatever, as I got older, I turned that toward flirting.
Okay.
And so I probably walked into her office and was like, oh, well, what have we here? And probably absolutely horrible in the way that I conducted myself.
I blame those older church ladies pinching your cheeks. They just set you up for just thinking you just had the charm to come into any church office.
And I believed them. Can you?
So you get there and you're walking through that, and you said it was life-changing. So tell me in what way?
The community that I was living in and from was fantastic growing up as a child. Mostly because my closest friend was there, but there was nobody there my age at that time.
Okay.
So early 30s, I guess, is what I was now, and just had no community really. There were a couple people, but and when I saw Life Action come in with the team, I was like, oh my word, this is what I've been missing. Because of the community I had when I was out in Seattle, I had lived and worked with 11 people on my team then, and I was the the administrative assistant for the church. So, and as a small church, so I did everything for the team. Like I was in charge of their lunches, and I was in charge of this and that and all of the things, and helped with housing and cars and all of the stuff. And that it really started filling my need for community and people that loved Jesus and had great purpose. And then they started trying to recruit me.
Okay.
So I think there was this mutual falling in love between Jodie and our team. And we recognized in her someone that would be incredible on the road. Lane and Janet Johnson needed a school teacher. And so now you have a college graduate with a math degree. It's a no-brainer.
Perfect.
Yeah.
But they weren't there. So they had a substitute revivalist at that point in time, but they were going to be at the next church. And so I just began to process and think through what it would look like to go. So I had 3 jobs. I was working for my brother. I worked at the church, and I taught math or algebra at the local community college. So I was like, do I give all of this up? Do I go? What do I do? And so decided to go for to meet the Johnsons to see if it would even be a fit.
Sure.
So traveled up to their next event in Pennsylvania and spent time with the team again, which I had fallen in love with, met Lane and Janet and the kids, and it was a really good connection. And so that was in April, and by August, I had quit my jobs. I had packed my bag and I was at training camp.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you had already traveled for the year.
Mhm.
And you're
First year.
thinking, I'm going to
Yeah.
Go again.
do it again.
So
Do it again.
I was dead set on 1 year. And I remember being in a church, and it was as though something shifted. I think someone somewhere else had just made a decision, and God was saying, all right, you're up. And there was this weird sense of, I'm supposed to travel again. Oh, okay.
Huh.
And I think it was a couple of days later, they brought me into a back room and asked if I would travel again and be the team director as well as the youth guy. And all of those nasty logistics that I was running from
Became your problem.
all over again.
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
And so you said, yeah. And so then
did.
you guys are on the same team.
Yeah, traveling together.
Okay.
Still
So,
just friends.
right. So when you traveled together, just friends, obviously, but did you both enjoy the traveling experience?
Loved it.
Yeah.
I was still in my depression at this point. And so there would be days that were really, really hard. But there was such an incredible sense of purpose in what we were doing. And it didn't matter what the day felt like. At the end of the day, I knew that what I was doing was deeply impactful and mattered. And that I saw, well, it was 4 years traveling with the Red Team. I saw those as incredible investment into the kingdom of God. And so when there was no joy, there was purpose.
Not a lot of people get to experience that, the purpose. Like just the purpose that you can see. It's like palpable. You can feel it. You're there. You're in it. That's a pretty special gift people get.
It wasn't just the work that God did in the churches, but it was the work that God did in fellow team members. I would see boys show up at training camp, and they would leave men. Guys that would be on their phones in the back of the room just trying to, get by with as little as possible. Years later were the respected leader of a children's club. And it was just an incredible transformation that God would do. Just growing and maturing and stretching, and so much fun to be a part of that and watch it happen.
I am so blown away by our church events and what happens, but I'm exponentially, endlessly interested in the micro transformations and the microcosm of what happens in the team and what happens in these 18, 19, 20-year-olds who come, give a year of their lives, sometimes 14, to serve Jesus, to follow Jesus, but to live in community. I mean, it's just such a rare thing. And to hear the stories from them is like, you can't help but like just be overjoyed by how God is working in this younger generation. It continues, right? Because Life Action has been here since the 1970s. And so generation after generation of young adults who are just embroiled in on the road ministry and then just spread out and continue that throughout. So
I traveled with Josh Anderson. He was a contemporary of my travel days. And now, over a decade later, we're leading his little brother, Sam Anderson.
so cool.
And it's just, seeing that legacy. Matt Fred will tell you stories where he will encounter base camp children. They'll come back to that church and they're now married with their own kids in base camp. And so he's teaching multiple generations of base campers, which is
cool.
really cool.
It's so cool. Yeah. And did you enjoy the experience as well?
I did. And I came thinking that I would travel for 3 years, like just in the back of my mind. Because my main focus for the Johnson kids was the two oldest,
Mhm.
and then that would have both of them graduate high school. But halfway through our year, Lane and Janet felt God calling them off the road. And so the answer, it came too late for me to have a different job on the team. And so at the end of the year, I didn't have a job. So it was kind of another tailspin for me, just trying to figure out, because it was like, did I really give up everything at like 3 jobs? And I couldn't just step back into those things. I said, really, God, for 9 months, you know? So what is next? Because I love this community and I want to be a part of it, but there's nothing for me. And Brent Paulus actually called me and he said, would you ever consider coming to headquarters? And I was like, no. No.
Everyone always turns down the offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they always come.
Yeah. So he said, okay, well, would you at least consider coming for an interview? I came and did the interview. As they came back to me with an offer, they said, I think you would really thrive as an administrative assistant. It's like, okay, well, good to know. And so that was August that I was here and visiting, did my interview, and it actually took me until October to say yes.
Okay.
So
What were you struggling with? Why were you thinking you didn't want to do
I
that?
grew up Southern Baptist, and Southern Baptists pay their missionaries, and it was really daunting to me to raise support. And not only to raise support, like traveling on a road team, you're out in front of everybody and you have this really fun job, but to raise support to be a secretary is really not easy. So, but I quickly found out that they were supporting me, not my job. And so it was not easy. It took me until the next August to get here, but it was good.
What made it so hard for you?
The ask.
Yeah.
So I actually went at a different approach and did more of the relational aspect, less of the actual asking. That was August of 14 that I moved here,
Okay.
2014.
Okay.
And so I was back in time for Seek Week.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So.
And so you were gonna work here at headquarters. Okay.
Yep.
For One Cry, what is One Cry?
One Cry helps individuals, churches, and communities unite in prayer for revival.
It's pretty good.
No, I was the marketing guy,
Yeah,
and so I did
I
all
know.
the social media, and I loved the purpose of One Cry because so Life Action would focus very specifically on the individuals within a church, whereas One Cry was more focused on big R revival. We got little r and big R. And so it was the goal was a nation experiencing revival. And that was accomplished through helping communities and churches unite. We used something that was actually created many, many years ago called the National Prayer Accord. And it was a rhythm of praying within the church monthly for revival, gathering with other churches regionally every quarter, and then annually on the National Day of Prayer, this united cry to God to remember our nation and to come and to turn hearts back on a grand scale. And so I came off the road after traveling for 4 years and was sharing a cubicle with this amazing woman.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say, because he's saying a lot of we, but he at this point, you're working for One Cry, he's still on the road, and eventually you do come off to work for One Cry.
She was my dad's secretary, which was pretty cool.
Okay.
And so
your dad's secretary.
Yeah, so my dad was involved with One Cry.
Okay.
He started, I guess, my second year traveling.
I was the administrative assistant for the ministry, and his dad was there.
There we go.
Yeah.
I actually wasn't a Life Action employee. So here's the picture. I'm exhausted, burned out after 4 years. So I decided to do the best possible thing for a young man in that position, which was move back in with his parents.
Again.
And so there I am, miserable, depleted, living in my parents' basement. And um, and this girl, uh, God met her in her closet and said, I want you to be that sad sack of a man's friend. And so I get these texts from Jodie, and she's like, "Hey, how you doing? You want to grab dinner?" I'm like, "Leave me alone. Let me be miserable." So I'm a miserable, broken man sneaking in the back door of the ministry center with my dad, just working for One Cry. So I wasn't actually an employee at all. I wasn't supported. I was just coming to work.
When you say work, you mean volunteering, because nobody was paying you.
Right. I was volunteering for One Cry. So I was managing the social media, graphic creation, managing the accounts, just doing all of that, and found a fun creative outlet
Huh.
and the beginnings of a new community.
Interesting. Why did you reach out to him to be friends?
Oh, we had been friends.
Right.
So we became friends our year we traveled, and even as he traveled 2 more years after that, we still stayed in contact. Not continually, but felt like God was saying, "Be his friend." And so I I have treasured my friendships along the way,
Yeah.
and we had conversations over the years just about how he doesn't do well with keeping up with people, and he doesn't
Mm.
really have a community, and so that's yeah.
You guys are working together at One Cry. Working.
Yeah.
Eventually, though, you do.
Eventually, we got support.
Yes.
I got my own badge. It
Right.
was official.
Yeah,
It was great.
everything together. And you guys are literally sharing a cubicle
Yes.
at this point.
Yes.
Not a very
This room is 4 times as big as our
Yes.
cubicle was. It was Michael, me, and Philip Wilson.
Yeah. So if you recall my character defects of looking for affirmation and attention through flirtatious behavior, um, I completely led Jodie on for years and had some inkling of what I was doing. But I had no malicious intent at all. I wasn't trying to lead her on or destroy her. I was like, all right, so there's this girl in my office. We'll have a cordial relationship. Be fun. And the more we worked together, though, I did care for her well being. And I would ask her the hard questions. And I would demonstrate care and compassion. And in doing so, um, I presented an intention that wasn't sincere. And that was incredibly difficult.
It was for a few years, right? So talk
Yeah.
about that from your perspective.
I'm actually really grateful to God that a lot of that I've forgotten because it was really hard. And so I had a space in my closet that was just scripture on the wall and where I would spend my quiet time in the floor of the closet, and just God just continuing to remind me to um love without expectation in the midst of and to be his friend even if he doesn't want it. And so I actually went through a lot of, am I crazy? What am I trying to do here? A whole lot of that. And um, God just really did continue to say, you need to be in the middle of this hard. And so Michael never had anyone that stayed with him in the hard. It was a long period of time, and at there were multiple times I'm like, I can't do this, and
Because you had fallen in love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew he cared for me, but it was just really hard. And so
If you go back to all those cheek pinching ladies, I believed that I was the perfect guy. I was so delusional in my pride. The perfect guy obviously deserves the perfect girl. So I was trying to find her.
I was not it.
Well, no one was.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm 35 and single, still looking for perfection, blind to my own arrogance, and hurting everyone I come in contact with,
Hmm.
and not understanding why. So I was a mess.
Hmm.
What God had put on Jodie's heart was love him, S- stay. God used that to really open my eyes to how blind I was, how full of pride. And that was not an easy thing to see. I'm sitting in the office upstairs with a piece of cardboard and my Bible open to Proverbs 31. And I start reading Proverbs 31 and I'm just sort of processing and I'm like, well, that's Jodie. And that's Jodie too. Well, that's Jodie, 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 Jodie. Maybe not that one, but Jodie, Jodie, Jodie. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, she's an incredible woman. Huh. And I'd been praying that God would bless Jodie with a husband. And what I kept getting back from the Spirit was, you do it. I'm like, find her a guy. Got it. Okay, God, I'll keep my eyes open. But suddenly it was like, oh, you do it. Oh.
Yeah. During that time period, God was like, He is on a pedestal in your life and the center of your life. And that is not where He's supposed to be at all. And so I remember very clearly saying, let him go, or God saying, let him go. You have to. And so during that time period, I was like, all right. So, and then we had a One Cry event down in Texas, and we went down to help with that and had one of the worst, hardest conversations that we've had as friends. And
We had a lot of hard conversations.
we did. After that, we knew that we either had to start dating or we could never be like
Like the
we couldn't be
friendship
around each other
had
again.
to break. Yeah.
So it was that one, definitely.
So we're driving back from this event, and there are, I think, 3 or 4 of us crammed in the back seat. Three of us. And I reach down and I take her hand and I hold it on the car ride back. So
Tell me it was across the middle person. Was that in the middle? That would have been awesome.
That would have been wonderful.
Okay.
No, so our previous conversation was we're either going to pursue a romantic relationship or we can't even be friends. And so
one of us has to move.
There was again one of those shifts. It was like, let's give this thing a shot. Let's go for it. We dated for 18 months.
Yes. When was that? What year was that when you?
2019.
So then what was that like? Now you're in. You're going to give it a shot.
Yeah, giving it a shot.
Probably wasn't easy though. Well, it probably wasn't just like a.
No. So she's said before, you're 38. You should know what you want by now. Well, obviously I didn't. I hadn't figured that out. I was just now figuring out that I didn't have it all together. Dating in your late 30s for over a year creates all kind of like, is he in? Is he out? What is he doing?
Right.
And you've told me, like, you often thought, is today the day he's going to leave me? And I didn't realize I was creating that environment for her. I was having to very much grow up and figure out what I wanted. So COVID hits, and so we're working offsite, more tough conversations, figuring out who we are and do we go together and what does that look like? Picked up a guy from the airport who is speaking at Seek Week. He began to talk about marriage and what marriage is. It was as though the Spirit of God on the way home said, you need to ask her tomorrow. Because I'd been kicking it around at this time. I was in that territory, that ballpark, and I was like, okay.
Tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Let's do this. And so we're downstairs in the kitchen the next morning. It's board meeting. So Jodie was cooking. She's an amazing cook.
Yes, she is.
And so she's prepping for the meal, putting some cans away. I'm chopping onions or something. And so I'm just chopping onions. And I'm like, all right, okay, here we go. here we go, let's do this. And I turn around and I'm like, I think we should get married.
And I was like, because we had talked about it.
Yeah.
But I turned around and I looked at him. I was like, is this an actual proposal? Like, I was thinking to myself,
Right.
is this an actual proposal? Like, is that what he's doing here?
So she's just sort of looking at me, processing, and I say, will you marry me? And I wasn't on my knee. There was no ring. She knew she was marrying a mess. So
You're a lovable mess, though, dang it.
thanks, Casey. Thank you. And so she said,
Yes. I think so.
No.
I know.
That would have been great.
I know.
and I said, okay, let's not make a big deal out of this yet. Let's see where this goes. And then our friend Megan walks in and I say, we're engaged. And so we jumped into wedding planning, and that afternoon, the entire wedding was planned. And 6 weeks later, we got married.
In
Well,
COVID.
Yes.
But that was a bit of a challenge, too.
With COVID.
We had COVID for the ceremony.
Right. That's what I
Yeah.
mean. You
Yeah.
both got very sick.
We did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that was in the summer of 2020?
October.
October of 2020. Okay.
So we strung a bunch of Christmas lights up in the willow tree. My dad was able to do the ceremony. Her dad did the vows and the signing because he's licensed in Virginia. Yeah.
And it's almost 5 years later.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
And now this beautiful story is you transition from One Cry
Mhm.
to traveling on the road. So it's like coming full circle. So how does that transition happen?
So One Cry was going through a season of becoming its own separate ministry outside of the umbrella of Life Action. And Jodie at that point was the chef at the pastor's lodge.
Part-time at that time.
And it was a difficult transition. We didn't know where our future was going. One of the things we had done before we started dating was say, you know what, I think I'd like to travel on the road. And Jodie said,
Yeah. Let's do this.
and so I'm thinking, okay, so we both want to travel. And we started talking about all of our shared values and interests and goals for the future. And so now we're highly unstable at work. We're torn between two ministries. So I go and I talk to Shane, and who was over the road teams at that point. And I say, hey, Shane, we both would love to be back on the road and serve in that capacity. He says, thanks, no openings. All right, cool. Several months go by, and we discover that Jimmy and Lori were stepping off of their position at the blue team. And so we get a call asking if we'd be interested in filling that role. And we prayerfully went and visited the team and thought it was awesome and proceeded to step through that door. And so glad that we did.
Yeah.
And how many years has it been now?
We're going into our third
Right.
year.
Yeah. Yeah. What were those first 2 years like?
The first year, we were blessed to have met Matt Fredericks with us traveling that year. So for me, as the administrator of the team, to have him like walk through all of that with me, and then part of his job also shifted to Michael, and so that was hard, but good. Yeah.
How is God using your story? How is God using you now that you're out on the road ministering to other couples?
So much of our ministry is primarily to the team.
Mhm.
And so we are able to pour our lives into them, what God is teaching us, learning wisdom and trying to impart that wisdom to them. Jodie she loves people. That's just what she does. And she's so good at it. And so she has taught me the value of community. She's taught me the value of generosity. And I'm teaching her the value of spontaneity and whimsy. And so we're stretching each other in that. But so my history of leading girls on is incredibly helpful on the road because you've got these young Christian charismatic guys that don't have really a clue of what they're doing in the hearts of these girls they're traveling with. And so to help them understand what their actions mean and how to be responsible in that setting, Like I know very well how to do it wrong.
Mm.
And so to help them do it right um, means a lot.
Yeah, I didn't think about it from that angle. That's really, really interesting. Yeah. What about you, Jody?
My most formative years in my Christian walk were 18 to 21. And that's the years that most people travel. And I know that that's like, to me, that was where my faith was shored up and where I began to really understand what studying the word was and to get deep in that. And I'm just um, thankful that we can be a part of that. I do um, enjoy the relationship aspect of it, being able to have fun, but also
Mm.
pour in. I was in my early 30s when I traveled, and it was really hard for me as an older team member like that to come under authority. I understand the the hardness of coming up underneath authority, and so to be able to encourage, to teach, and love the team members through trying to figure out that aspect because we are always under some form of authority
Yeah,
in our
yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
So,
I like how you
Yeah.
put it, to love them through that. I bet you
Mhm.
do a good job of that. Your relational piece.
and
The
then
jam
I
with Jody probably helped.
jam
Yeah,
session.
jam
Jam
sesh.
session with Jody.
So let me tell you about jam sesh. So I told you already, she's an amazing cook. She's also a very gifted baker. And so she has sourdough. We were looking for a way to be a blessing to the team, connect with them. Sunday is a long day, and dinner isn't until after the service. So Jody's thinking, well, how about I just make some toast and we'll get some jam. And I was like, we'll call it jam sesh. Or maybe it was her idea.
No, it's yours for
Jam
sure.
sesh with Jody.
Use the marketer.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like, well, we got to do this again.
Right.
And so every Sunday afternoon is jam sesh with Jody and Michael. And so she'll make sourdough cookies and pancakes and the monkey bread.
That's not sourdough, but it's delicious.
It's delicious. And so it's a fun time where we just build community. And Callie, what's your favorite thing?
Sourdough chocolate chip cookies.
So good.
So good.
So good.
I want those for my birthday.
You got it.
Done.
Love it.
Yeah.
So I do want to say something because I just want to recognize something in you, Michael. We've joked, and you've been very vulnerable about kind of how you've moved through this process. And Jody, you can probably attest to this, but what you're really good at is when God shares something with you, you're really good at humbly sharing that with others and using that to pour into other people's lives. I just want to say that to you, and
Thank you.
that God does use you, and you allow him to use your experience. Even if it hurts to say it out loud, you just put it out there. And I think that you've probably made more of an impact in doing that than you probably realize.
Praise the
So,
Lord.
yeah.
It was our first year on the road when it clicked what my role was dealing with the churches. That the churches don't need to hear anything that I have to offer or anything that Steve has to offer. The churches need to hear from Jesus. I don't ever want to hear, wow, when Michael said this, it changed my life. I want to hear, when we were at that event, God spoke to me and God showed me this about myself. And my life is dramatically different because of what God spoke to me. The position that we've been given is to be the one that God can speak through. And that is an incredible opportunity. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that.
That's great. Jody, how do you see God working in Michael's life?
Growth and maturity for sure. But also in taking criticisms and hard conversations and moving forward out of those into a better man. The first year in his teaching, there were many times when, Steve's in the back and he's sending notes after. And so for Michael to be able to take that and transform into
Mm.
a gifted communicator. So
Yeah, he's very gifted
yeah.
communicator. And probably those young guys who are thinking they want to go into ministry are seeing that,
Mm.
seeing how it's okay to receive suggestions from someone who's walked it before and to take those into consideration. That's probably pretty powerful to them too. I'll ask you the same thing. How do you see God working in Jodie's life and your life out on the road?
Because of my history of looking for approval, I have to weigh my motives. And so I asked her about her motives. And it was actually the way I posed the question kind of stung her a little bit. And I understood that she never has ulterior motives
Mhm.
in the ways that she loves people. It never even enters her mind. She just genuinely wants to, and often sacrificially, care and love. Now, she has moments where she's tired
Mhm.
from that,
Mhm.
or it requires so much of her. But just to recognize the genuineness of her motives and her heart, and to care for others has been a wonderful challenge for me and an incredible blessing. Um, I recognize that God blessed me with an incredible woman who is an incredible helper. And I'm so glad that He's let us minister together.
Mhm.
He, I don't think God just calls one of us. He calls both of us. And I know that for the rest of our life, our ministry will center around being used together.
Mm.
It's a
The
really
good
cool
thing
thing.
I like you.
I know, right?
Mhm. That's a really great segue into this question then. Looking ahead, you hinted at it. You think your ministry will always be together. What are your prayers and hopes for that?
Yeah.
I will say from the beginning that we don't know how long God has us on the road, so we are here till God shows us something different. But my parents have a farm in Virginia that we would love to turn into a retreat center. And so farm to table retreat for pastors and couples.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Why pastors?
Because we know how hurting
mhm.
they are and how hard it is to be a pastor. As our ministry has grown in the area of soul care
Mhm.
and being able to offer some incredible resources through team life and soulmates, um, we see that God's given us a venue for that.
Mhm.
And the guy that likes to have the personal interaction and the woman that loves to serve behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And not just pastors, but missionaries and couples and staff retreats. And we would love to see that become a place where all of those groups can find rest,
Mm-hmm.
can be ministered to. I don't know. You get into your 40s and you see life differently. And the verse in Genesis about uh, work the land, fill the earth, subdue it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've mowed the yard, but on a 35-acre farm, there is very much this ownership of working the land and of being a steward of what God has given us. And something just really appeals to me about that. I know the blessing I've received from going away to retreat places where I can just be alone and just connect with the Father. And to be able to offer that to others together, it just seems like a really great thing if God was to move in that direction. And we hold it loosely.
Yeah. I mean, at this point in your lives, you've seen that God has a plan and it might twist this way and this way and
Yeah.
this way and this way, and eventually that could be part of it. As you are getting ready for year 3,
Mhm.
what are your prayers for this next season of church events? And talk a little bit about like what you're praying for these churches before you go in.
I really want God to use us. I want the team to see Him at work. I don't want them to just do their job or their ministry, but I want them to have moments where they see him change lives and to carry those stories with them for the rest of their lives.
I really look forward to seeing the team grow, like, and to mature. It's a difficult pace we lead, but it's also a lot of fun. And in the middle of that, be able to thrive in their job so that they can minister in the midst of the churches.
Yeah. And it seems like you really take on the role of checking in with them and making sure they're thriving, because it's hard to pour out if you feel depleted,
100%.
right? Especially if you're a young kid.
Yep. 100%.
Before I ask you the last question, how many times did the truck break down this past year?
Boy. You know how you have so much tragedy, eventually you just forget it, and it just becomes this,
You blocked it out?
oh yeah, that was a really hard time in life.
And you all did a recap of your
Yeah.
year, and it was essentially a map of all the places that
That the truck
broke down.
and then
I
broke
do
down again.
recall on, internal chats, pray for Michael and Jodie. The truck broke down again.
Yeah.
So if
again.
there's any kind people out there who have an extra really nice truck that they would love,
F350 dually, please.
F350 Julie,
King Ranch,
King Ranch.
We don't have to have all the bells and whistles.
Pearl White.
You're from Texas. It's
No.
sometimes when the truck breaks down a lot, you think, God,
Yeah.
send somebody with an extra truck.
Yeah. We started looking at
Yeah.
when we were broken down in Big Spring, Texas for a week. We had just gotten our brand new truck.
No,
New to us.
Not break.
It's like a 2012. So we just hooked up our new truck to the trailer, and it breaks down 25 miles outside of town, 45 minutes out. So
Not
now
only
we're
are we broken down, we're there for a week.
stranded there
Because
for
they
a
can't
week.
get parts to fix our truck.
But all along the way, God provides.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point eventually where it was like, all right, well, what's God gonna do? How's he gonna take care of us in this? Because he always did and always does. And it wasn't just our truck, it was multiple vehicles. There was one church where all of the vehicles had some major trouble that week.
Yeah.
And whether it was
5 vehicles.
Steve and Debbie's jacks getting stuck, or fuel line breaking on the bus, or we got rear-ended on the side of the highway, the box truck did. Semi hit it and kept going.
People would be really surprised by the difficulty of logistics and all that stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
all that's a lot
Right.
to try to navigate.
And that's how God has gifted Jodie. She has an incredibly organized, structured mind, and that's one of her huge gifts to the team.
Getting us from here to there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's from here to there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
From here to there
Yeah.
with Michael and Jodie.
Yes. I like it. Your own podcast. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Years from now, looking back, what do you want your legacy to be as Michael and Jodie? How did you hope that God used you?
I want our legacy to be that we loved God and loved others well. I want people to be closer to Him because we got to have some sort of impact in their life. I think heaven's going to be really fun, seeing how the sovereignty of God has woven through relationships. So the Christian walk is one of deep interconnectedness in relationships, and it's God doing all of the growth, but the little roles that we play. It's going to be really fun to see one day how that fits.
Yeah, as Del says, revival works through relationships.
I'm a lot on the same line, that I loved well and that I pointed to Jesus. Like, even through the practical things. I'm incredibly practical and detail-oriented, and I can do a lot of that in my own strength because that's the way he's gifted me, but I don't I don't want to leave him out of any of that either. And so, um, that even in the mundane, that people can see Jesus.
I love your story.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Thanks.
much for sharing it with me.
Thank
And
you.
good luck this year.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Changed Lives. If you are encouraged or inspired by what you heard, I want to invite you to take the next step. You can support the people whose story you just heard and others like them by visiting lifeaction.org/changedlives. Whether through prayer, giving, or sharing these stories, you can be part of what God is doing to revive relationships and transform lives.